Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to La Cultura Podcast. I'm your host, Alma. I'm here with my co-host, Manny Hernandez. What's up,
What's
buddy?
going on, y'all? What's up, man?
Chilling.
How you been?
Been all right, man. So today's
Been
an
a
interest.
while.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, we're trying to slam some more of these podcasts out. We have
Yeah.
crazy schedules, so trying to get that synced. But
Yeah.
fortunately, we are here now. Today we have an interesting topic. Uh, it's about la cultura. It's about passing down your Hispanic heritage, culture,
Yeah.
generation to generation. And we're both going to talk about what our parents did or things that we've done to, I don't want to say maintain. Yeah, maintain that culture. I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to sound like we're trying to say preserve the culture, keep it within yourselves, but you know, as the Hispanic community grows, the Latino community grows in the United States, we are American, but we are proud of our cultures, the countries we came from, our parents
Yep.
came from, our lineage. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Manny, what
All right,
what what are
dope.
your thoughts on the topic, just to kick it off?
I think this is important. This is something that we need to talk about because I guess as you become more alienated in a way
Mm-hmm.
from your roots, you don't spend time in your country. You're not surrounded by it all the time. You kind of become more accustomed to different cultures and different like just habits and shows and everything affects you, you know what I mean? But being from a Latino background, Puerto Rican and Dominican, I have to keep on top of
Ooh,
two
that
sides
mix.
of it. I got the mix, right? So, and believe it or not, which is kind of funny, I identify more with Dominican because of the music and the food and everything else. But I have when I speak Spanish, sometimes I got a Puerto Rican accent, like I got a Bori accent, which is kind of
Got you.
cool because I don't like salsa at all. Like that's not my. I like
Oh
bachata,
man,
but
all the Puerto
yeah, I don't
Ricans are
like
gonna be like,
salsa.
what?
Yeah, it's not my
Disowned.
thing, but and I think the reason I don't like it is because I can't dance it. So it's like,
Oh, I
yeah,
feel you,
I don't
bro.
like salsa.
I'm still trying to learn. I know the
Yeah,
basics, man. So I'm half Dominican, half Peruvian, and
well
Peruvians
there
dance
you
a lot of
go.
cumbia, but not really much of anything else. Nowadays, like Peruvians dance everything, but
Yeah,
cumbia is our thing.
cumbia
And
is your thing. I see. I didn't even know that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
they
that was
love cumbia
cumbia.
down there. I mean, I haven't
All
been in
right.
Peru in a while to Peru in a while, but that's what my cousins are
Yeah,
really they love cumbia.
that's what
And
they do
my
too.
Dominican side, of course, I mean, I write dance bachata music. I love the
Hmm.
food. You know, I'm kind of I'm in between. I think I've had a good share of both cultures passed down into me. Both of my parents, I'm really close to both sides of my family, so both of my
Nice.
parents really, I guess, passed down a lot of their cultures from where they're from down to me,
Yeah,
and so have my
yeah.
grandparents from both sides. So,
Well,
so
there you
that's
go.
that's
You
it's
have
it's interesting. You say how like what we identify more with when it comes to even being Hispanic. You mean a Hispanic mutt? Is it what we like to call it?
yeah.
You mean being mixed is
That's what
like
they would call
you
us.
know,
Yeah,
there's is the Latino community is not all one what is it? What's the word that they're using now? The woke kids are using.
Latino X, whatever it is. I don't even know to be honest.
It's like you can't put us all into one box. There's like so many different.
No,
There's a lot of
it.
similarities, which is why we all get
Yep.
along with each other. Language, a lot of foods.
Hmm.
We all enjoy each other's music, but we're very diverse community. And
Yeah,
in
and
us, in being here in the United States with the American part too, you mean the American culture mixed in with our Latino culture
yeah.
also gives it another, crazy turn of dynamics within our community. So,
I think it's beautiful, man. Like I love. I think America has a lot of cool cultures combined, and like I'm a foodie. I like to eat food,
mm,
right? So my biggest thing
preach.
is when I eat food,
Let's
I,
talk
I
about
like to
food.
eat food from everywhere.
Let's
You know what I
talk
mean? Like
about
that's one thing
food.
that yeah, that's one thing that I like about like the U.S. I guess is like you have the opportunity to enjoy so many different things. You don't have to be stuck in a box. But like as far as like our stuff, for me at least, to I guess to preserve who I am, like my culture, who I am. There's things that have influenced me.
Mm,
Obviously, like music. is one. Like that's huge.
Yeah,
I think
music.
the only reason
Yes.
I think the only reason I know how to speak anything or write or read Spanish is because of music.
Right.
Like the lyrics and stuff like that. And I still like struggle like
Sunday
saying all the
cleaning.
words in Spanish. Yeah, because it's like not something that I talk as much. Like at my house I speak English like most of the time, and if I do speak Spanish, it's not really proper because it's mixed with our words.
That's interesting.
You know,
So growing up, did your parents speak to you mostly in English or in Spanish?
nah, Spanish, and it was
Spanish.
Dominican
Interesting.
Spanish and Puerto Rican
Oh.
Spanish. So it was a crazy ass mix. I'm like, yo, I had to learn the same word twice. You know what I mean? I had to word like, for example, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Do you know what a mapo is,
Yeah.
or do you know what a swap is?
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
But it's different words though. I only know
It's the
because I
same
know.
it's a mop. But for us, I gotta learn both of them, like swape and mapo. Like it's the same shit, bro. That's the struggle that I had. So I think with music, I kept a lot of my culture alive because, bro, when I was in middle school, I would listen to bachata. That was my thing, and I was in school and people would be like, "Yo, you're a hick because you listen to bachata." But I'm like, "Yo, I'm
Bro, I
Spanish.
remember those
Like
days.
I'm Latino. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Latino. This is my culture. You know what I mean?" But
Thank God Romeo and Aventura made that cool.
oh god, thank goodness, right? But that and then watching what is it, Telemundo
Telemundo, Univision,
and
Don Francisco
Univision.
Presenta.
Yeah, Don Francisco.
Those iconic the kind of, every Hispanic goes up. Walter Mercado, you remember that guy? That creepy vampire dude.
On the news.
Bendiciones.
Yeah. That's what I was exposed to. Like, every day we would have to at 5 o'clock watch the news in Spanish.
Primer Impacto.
Primer Impacto, like every freaking day. Bro, that was our thing.
My grandmother didn't let me go outside and play because of Primer Impacto.
Yo, Primer Impacto was
some kids will get abducted and they'd be in Primer Impacto, and it'd be like in like the craziest of places, like where it happens. Yeah. And she's like, "Duet, you see this? You see? That's why you're not going outside." I'm just like,
damn, son, you're not even close.
Yeah,
that's the life.
Yeah.
So Primer Impacto was one thing that really like kept us actually understanding Spanish in a way.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Oh, I don't know if you remember this. At 7 o'clock, they still have it actually. The lady judge, what's her name?
Caso Cerrado. Yeah.
Yeah,
Caso Cerrado.
Yep, Caso Cerrados, and then one of my all top.
Laura, please don't tell me Laura.
I didn't like Laura.
Okay,
much,
bro.
What show was really
I didn't
good?
like it because so when I moved to Dominican Republic, all my Dominican cousins, I didn't like that show too much because it was like the slums of Peru. You know what I mean? It's like they picked the worst people from Peru and they put them on TV. And all my Dominican cousins, family, friends, like when I moved down there, were like, oh, like that was their perception of Peruvians. Like that's what they thought all Peruvians were like that. And I was like, no, that's
man.
Yeah.
Chinche,
Señorita Laura, tú no sabes.
That shit was, bro. That shit.
Yo, and then they'd be like, "Nah, señor, like I'm a hardworking man. I'm always working." And like, "Mentiroso, aquí tenemos la prueba." And then she put them on like the freaking camera, and then like you see them in the camera, and then it goes back to the show, and like all the women are just beating on this guy.
Yeah, it was crazy. That show was insane. But do you remember 12 Corazones?
Yes, I remember that.
Bro,
with the matchmaker game.
Show.
It was like a matchmaker TV show. Yeah. They came out. They came out on after I think Don Francisco, like it was Sábado Gigante, where they had that guy afuera. Yeah, bro, that's crazy, man. 2 channels, Telemundo and Univision. And Galavisión was trying to make their way in there, but they're no Telemundo.
I don't remember Galavisión that much, but
they showed during the DirecTV era.
That's what it was.
They had a lot of soccer games. I used to watch soccer games on there.
Really?
La Liga Mexicana, yeah. I love Mexican. Like I grew up on Mexican soccer because there was no other soccer available. Speaking of culture, like my favorite team's Alianza Lima. Like my team's from Lima, Peru. But you mean back then there was no Alianza Lima playing on Univision, so then it was like Los Tigres or the
Yeah.
Pumas or Chivas or you mean America. Like those are the ones like Monterrey. Those are the guys playing. So like I watched a lot of Mexican soccer growing up, and because that's all there was to watch. Like if you think about it, being a
Even in
Hispanic
novelas,
during
bro.
that time, it's like a lot. Speaking of culture, is like Mexican culture has influenced a lot of like Hispanics here in the United States because that's what a lot of Cubans, Colombians. That's the only station, Peruvians. That's the only station we had to turn to. And
Yeah,
so it's
I
like we
agree.
were watching telenovelas from Mexico. We were watching Mexican sports. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the only thing we got exposed to. And it's funny because I I'm grateful for my parents because they kept like the Puerto Rican and Dominican aspect of my culture like alive because in reality, like you said, we were exposed to culture from Mexico
Mm-hmm.
because of the TV and whatever and the shows and everything else. Even the accents, like
Yes,
the
yes.
accents are completely
Oh yeah.
different. So uh, that and I would say also like los festivales. When they had the
Oh
festivals
man, whenever there's a
in the
Caribbean
city.
festival, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and it's hard to like find any like Hispanics. Well, back in the day, I don't know about now, but like the Latin festival is where you meet like other Hispanics. That or
Yeah, you're like,
like
oh
a
shit.
Spanish mass or Spanish like church service. This is where you're
Yeah,
gonna meet the other Hispanics.
that's when
Or on
everybody
a
comes
soccer
out the
field, like
bodega.
playing the pickup game. That's where you're gonna. That's where you'll run into to other Hispanics.
And that was literally it. But like keeping that alive, it's almost like speaking Spanish at home, trying to at least.
Mm.
My parents were like against this whole. We used to call it Spanglish.
Oh yeah.
Because our parent, I have one brother and three sisters, and we only spoke English. We were like, whatever, fuck it, this is what we speak.
Yeah.
But when it came to them, we had to speak in Spanish, and that kind of kept us like going. But even then, like we lived in DR for a while, and going from I was in high school and going back to Dominican Republic, bro, and
In high
taking
school?
in high
Oh, so
school, I
it
was
was like I mean I was the same way. I went my sophomore year of high
yeah
school.
sophomore year.
Mhm.
Actually, I went back to Dominican and going from an American school system
Yeah.
to back to DR, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, how do people even understand what's going on with like math or history? Like in Spanish, I didn't understand that shit, but
Yeah.
I hated it at that point when I was there. But I'm so grateful for it now because it's like, bro, the struggles that we go through and like our origin, like our countries, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? And that gives you like a little like that for me at least. Like it gave me the opportunity to see like what it's important to know where I'm coming from,
Yes.
to appreciate it because I'm here and I can have impact in the US. Like I live in the US and I can be Dominican and Puerto Rican and still have impact because people are struggling back where we're from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, you know. But
And that goes with every
I don't
culture
know.
too, man. Whether you're Asian, even if you're like Irish, Italian, you mean you still can trace back. Like you mean, hey, like my grandmother was from Italy, or my grandfather was from Ireland, or
Yeah,
or the UK. It's one of those things where it's like kind of knowing your roots, I guess. You mean a lot of people just think of it when it comes to like Hispanics in the Black community, but it's really just like you mean knowing like where you came from. Sometimes it can
yeah,
explain a lot, and it also can help you develop as a person as well.
absolutely. And it helps you understand like what kind of relationships you have with other countries and like back when I was a kid, there was always this like beef between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. Like I never
Bruh,
understood it. It's stupid.
I
You know what I mean?
started I
Like
started not believing in that beef once I would go to the Bronx, New York. That's a lot of my family are from the Bronx, and
yeah,
that was the most common mix in the Bronx that I
yeah.
would run across, Puerto Rican and
Forty has
Dominican. And then
40 and Dominican.
I
Yeah,
even like you mean dated a Puerto Rican girl, and I remember like thinking to myself is like why like this just makes sense. Like there's so many similarities in culture, it's ridiculous. And it's just like
absolutely, man.
that's the reason why there was. I don't even really get where that beef came from. To be honest, I should probably do my homework on that. But honestly, like I don't I like to spread love and not hate. And so when it came to the stuff like that, like I had a lot of friends that were Puerto Rican that were mad cool. So I never saw it. Just like
Yeah,
you know what I mean, Peruvians and Chilenos, like we don't get along because we have a
Really?
history, the political, talking about like knowing where your roots are. There's a
Yep.
political history behind that, and but here in America, I'm like cool with a lot of Chilenos because we all play soccer, we all hang out in the same place. But you mean,
Yeah.
you go down to Peru, it's like, I think it's a lot more chill now when it comes to the rivalry between the two.
Yeah.
It's now come down to like petty soccer games and stuff like that. Well, not petty, it's important. It's a World
It's
Cup
important for you.
qualifications.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important for us, but it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like I never understood that beef until you like understand, like you kind of have to dig to see why certain Hispanic communities have beef with each other. And I think a lot of it is because we're so similar. that could be
Yeah.
like another thing that kind of makes us clash.
I think you're right, man. But I also like right now I feel because we have become more Americanized, we are becoming more familiar with each other's cultures and the information's out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to understand each other if there's no information going back and forth. And
Mm.
because of the internet and stuff like that, you can literally connect with anybody in the world. And I think that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's insane. And like I'll give you an example of how culture is I guess being kept alive and also being fused together. Like for you, for example, you're from, you're half Peruvian, but you do bachata. There's this guy named Vicente Cifuentes.
Mm.
He's from Chile. He's Chileno.
No way.
And this man does bachata.
Dude, yeah, he has some good music. I did not know he was from Chile.
He's from Chile, bro. And he's
No, I can't
keeping
listen to him.
bachata.
I'm just joking. No, but dude, I
Yeah,
respect him, dude. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's from
From Chile.
Chile.
Wow,
And
he's from
he
Santiago?
does bachata.
Is that what he's?
I think he's from Santiago.
I'm wondering why I'm
Pretty
getting
sure it's-
listeners from Santiago. I wonder if it's because they've like tagged me related to him because
Probably,
of,
man.
of the album. But yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. Speaking, we always go back to music because that's what we're in. But we like
That's what
we like to expand what we're talking because this is about culture, and our culture obviously is
Yeah.
not all just about music, but it's a huge part. I mean, like when people think Hispanics or Latinos, they think
Mhm.
music, food. Happiness, and so but going back to the music thing, like you said, like I think when it comes to the genre and who the genres belong to and where they originated has now become I don't want to say irrelevant to start a career. Like I still think it's this way. If you're trying to do merengue, you have to be
Mhm.
Dominican. Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying you have to be Dominican, but it's really hard to be
Yeah.
like a top contender Puerto Rican. Merenguero.
Yeah.
Like where like people will carry you to the grave. Same thing for Dominicans trying to do salsa. There's Dominicans that try to do salsa, but like
Yeah. There's only one that I think is like really good for salsa Dominican.
who's that?
El Canario.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
he's the only one.
There's always those exceptions. Elvis Crespo, where's he from? He's Puerto Rican, isn't he?
I think he's Puerto Rican.
Yeah, and he does merengue.
Yeah.
It's like there's
Yeah.
always like those exceptions.
Very rare.
But it's very rare, and I always wondered that too. I was like, well, yeah, I know merengue is like our music, but like Puerto Ricans love merengue and they love bachata too. So like,
Yeah.
it's not long before like, and the crazy thing is like we see it a lot with reggaeton now. Reggaeton used to be like
Hell yeah.
Boricua all the way. Like
Bori.
yes, El General, Panama. Like I know the Panamanians listening. Reggaeton
Yeah.
started. Yes, we know.
Yeah.
We know where it started. But the thing is that like, let's be honest. Like Puerto Ricans ran that. Boricuas,
Yeah, they took that
that's
shit.
like reggaeton was like PR.
Yeah.
I mean, like
But now it's even like Colombia's.
that's what I'm
freaking-
saying. It's like these
Yeah,
genres
man.
now. It's like Colombia made it hot.
Yeah.
J Balvin, Maluma, like all these other artists
Yeah.
coming out. Nicky Jam is in Puerto Rican, but he made it hot in Colombia.
went to
I mean, made it
Colombia.
hot again because he was pretty hot back in
Yeah.
the day. But like for him to come resurrect like that, a lot of it was thanks to Colombia. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. So is that gonna be long? Like bachata's, I think next, honestly, because
feel
a lot more people like it. Like there's salsa, and then there's bachata. I think those are the two most popular besides reggaeton, like
Mhm.
Latin genres. And we have bachateros in Italy. We have bachateros in Spain.
Yeah.
We have bachateros in Russia. So it's
Yep.
like it's
Merging.
yeah, it's gonna be where it's like, I mean, it's always gonna be a Dominican. To me, it's Dominican music, but
Mhm.
it's gonna like spread so far where there's just, it doesn't belong to us in the sense like nobody else can do it, and like people are breaking barriers with that now because they're actually very popular. these Italian bachateros and these Spaniard bachateros, they're like really popular where they're from, and that's all you need.
Dude,
You
I
just need to
see
be
it happening.
popular where you're from, and it's
Yep.
and before long you're gonna start charting, and then you're an Italian bachatero that's up there at the top.
That's it.
What you
That's what
mean?
happens, man.
Next to Prince Royce, and that's a far fetch, but you mean you're next to like some big names in bachata.
Yeah.
So,
No,
but
I agree. What else have you done like from your household that's kept your culture intact, like from your side of the family and stuff like that?
so with us, I would have to say sports, man. Sports.
Sports.
Peru is very big with soccer, like super big.
Yep.
I was really good at soccer. My dad never forced me to
Hmm.
get good, but he was like nasty. And I played
Yeah.
baseball as well because I have Dominican side, and I just love baseball. And but the way my dad would play around me, he made it seem like I do this not because you mean like I want you to be better than me, or so I do this because it's
Yeah.
part of my culture, man. It's part of who I am. I play soccer
It's in his
because it's who I
DNA.
am. Whether I go pro, whether
Yeah.
I don't, it's what we
Yeah.
do. And I just
What about
wanted to do it
baseball?
because I'm like, well, this is who I am. You mean?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
bro, like, it's crazy, man, because it's like you see it. Like, I think most Americans will see it with a lot with like Mexican soccer, and
Hmm.
Brazilian soccer. Like, Argentinian are they're very constructive. I don't know. They're very critical of their team right now because Messi, arguably like one of the best that could ever do it, but
Yeah.
Messi. But you see it like how crazy Hispanics get with soccer, and it's not because
Mm.
it's their culture, man. It's like American football here in the United States, which is losing its ground, but it'll never lose its ground in Latin America, like
Yeah.
soccer, football, because it's
Yeah.
part of your culture, and that right there has kept my culture alive because a lot of these games they're only in Spanish, they're only commentated in Spanish. So now that I can watch my team Alianza Lima play and the Peruvian league play, um, I listen. It's in Spanish, and that helps
Yep.
me preserve. Another thing my dad did was introduce me to a lot of the greats. I mean, Julio
Hmm.
Iglesias, Piero, Leodan,
Yep.
Roberto Carlos, who's actually
Yep.
Brazilian by the way, but he sang in
Yep.
Spanish and a bunch of other languages. Um,
Yep.
Armando Manzanero, like my favorite. You mean cantautor? You mean ever?
Yep.
That you mean every Sunday or every Saturday we'd clean, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Hispanics grew up this way. Every Saturday you clean, they pop in that old music, and
They
we call
pop it
it
in,
the
kid.
cleaning music. You mean you go there, everybody will have a thing to do.
You know, the second you
Tú vas a
heard that
limpiar el
shit.
baño, tú vas a limpiar la cocina, tú vas a fregar los platos. Like it's like
Yeah.
everybody's got this thing, and everybody's jamming to the
Yep.
music and stuff, and that's something like my family's done to preserve the culture. Also, my grandmother, she didn't. My Peruvian grandmother lived with us for a while. She actually raised me along with my mother, and
Nice.
my father had this thing was like, hey, we all speak Spanish here. Don't be rude. So it was like when we were at the
Mm.
table, and my Spanish is still not the best, but I owe a lot to my father making it important to communicate with family. When I moved to
Yep.
Dominican Republic, I love my family. I love hanging out so much that like you mean I wanted to make sure I knew how to speak Spanish, and I want my kids. You mean I want the same for them because I have
Yep.
my grandmother is gonna want to see her great grandkids you mean, and speak with them to communicate with them, and that's a little like
Yeah,
a
man.
sad thing. Like I have cousins that don't speak uh they understand like a lot, but they can't carry a conversation, like a deep conversation,
Carry it.
which kind of makes a disconnect between you and the older generations. You mean los viejitos, you mean the el bisabuelo, you mean the bisabuela, the
Yeah.
tia abuela, you mean the ones that are the OGs that are there that have a lot of knowledge to give you, and they can't because
Yep.
you mean you don't make it you
Communication
don't make it
barriers
you
there.
don't make it your prerogative to learn the language. So when you do go visit Dominican Republic to visit your family, you're not just awkwardly sitting in kiosco like looking at them all
Yeah.
awkward. You get your bendiciones whenever you go out to you mean drink your brugal at the monumento or wherever you hang out,
Mhm.
and it's like you really don't establish a connection with the primos or with you mean the, or the OGs, and to me that's like I think super important is the language,
Yep.
and that's what
But
my
that
family
like
did.
it goes back. Yeah, it goes back to what you said, Lo. Like your parents made sure
Yes, they did.
that you knew the language. You know what I mean? Like I think there's people that are they're Latino, but they don't speak Spanish.
They don't.
you know, and it could be because they were raised there or they were, they came here when they were younger. But all that stuff happens at home. I mean, like if I don't speak any Spanish and I don't listen to Spanish music, I don't cook anything Spanish. Like even cooking Spanish, because when you cook
Mm.
something, when you cook a sancocho, you make a
Bro,
sancocho.
I make
What else are you gonna
the
call it?
best ceviche peruano. So like, if you my
Yeah,
ceviche
what are you
is
gonna
like,
call it
yeah,
in English? Like you gotta understand,
learning
like, yo,
to cook where, like, you mean, if you're Peruvian, learn to cook some Peruvian dishes. If you're
yeah,
Dominican, learn some, you mean, like, I know your abuelita's got some receta somewhere lying around, or she can teach you, or somebody in your
yeah,
family, if
exactly.
she's gone, you mean, somebody in your family, dude, YouTube, go on YouTube. If you don't,
That's it.
you mean, and then start mixing and mastering and create, you mean, and keep it traditional, because that's the whole point.
Yeah, the whole point of that is that, yeah. But no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't even learn how to cook, or like, bro, like you go to Facebook and you watch these videos about things about being Latino, and
Yeah.
you laugh because you're like, shit, man. Like, I remember
Mm-hmm.
this shit when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, who is it? Is it Toño Skits?
Oh,
Toño
bro.
Skits has, bro, he has
Tonya
so many.
Skits.
Bro,
Man, it's
oh
leaving my
my
mind.
god.
There's the guy from Orlando that what's his name? He's hilarious. He's the one. He's always he's like, I think, the one that started the whole, like, acting like la mamá or la abuela, like la
Yeah.
abuelita. Like, I don't know if you
Yep.
remember, but like
No,
everybody else
I
kind
know
of
what it
copied
is.
off of him. But
Yeah. But that's the stuff that you see and you're like, damn, man, I remember that shit when I was a kid because it's part of your culture. You know what I mean? Like, the only way you can understand that is if you actually went through it,
yeah,
and it's just, I think it starts at the home, man. Like, the home
it
has
does.
to have the foundation to at least say, yo, this is who we are,
Yeah,
and try to carry that through. You know what I mean? But
definitely.
yeah, this,
I remember. I don't know if, like the elders in your family kind of felt this way, but the elders in my family definitely felt this way. Anytime, like, cause I was like, they call me New Yorkino too, even though I'm not from New York. But if you're
oh,
from back then, if you're from the United States and you go to Dominican Republic, you're a New Yorkino. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
We
that's what
say
I
that
was when I was down
de
there.
los New York, de los New
Los
York.
New York.
That's what that's what they say. Tú eres de los New York, de allá. I'm like, nah, I'm from New Hampshire. They're like, de Nueva York. I'm like, New Hampshire.
Whoa. That's back
They're
before
like,
the
Nueva
internet,
York.
though.
I'm like,
That's when
bro,
people
get
were
off.
like, they thought, like, or when I moved to Texas and they were like, hey, me voy para Nueva York para la primera vez. Like, a ver si nos encontramos ahí. I was like,
Yeah, they call it
bro,
Texas and shit.
I'm in Texas. They're like, pero eso está cerca, ¿no? I'm like, no.
Not even
It's like,
close.
I think it's closer to Peru.
Exactly. That's
Like,
funny. Yeah.
than yo. But like, no, in all honesty, yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. I don't know if the elders, like, like, they kind of, whenever you go down there and you didn't speak Spanish, they kind of looked at you like,
Disgraced. Yeah,
pero,
they're
pero no
not
sabe
happy,
hablar.
man.
Tú no hablas. Like,
Wow, they're not happy. They hate that shit.
you're
They
like,
hate that
hello.
shit.
You mean, yo,
Yeah.
kissing people in the cheek, bro. Like, I was actually really
Bro,
good with that.
bro.
So that was interesting enough. Anytime I would go to Dominican Republic, Peru, and then I come back to the States, I couldn't let go of the habit, because I do with my family in the States as well. You mean, I do with my
Mm.
grandmother, I do with, like, my aunts and stuff. You go there and you just kiss them in the cheek. I remember coming back to
Yeah.
the States after I graduated from high school, and
Yeah.
I met a girl. She was a friend of my cousin's, and I went to yo, she almost slapped the crap out of me, bro.
They're not used to that shit. That's how we
A
say
part of
hi.
me, like, my hair stood up because I knew I messed up. I was like,
Yeah.
this girl is not Hispanic, and I just went in for a kiss. She's gonna
On the
slap the
cheek,
shit.
bro. It's
Yeah.
just part of the culture, man. Like, that's how we are.
Yo, so how were, like, the other, like, do you have, like, that kind of vibe too? For me, that was like fuel for me to try to learn more Spanish,
Yeah.
because, like,
It's
I
it's
loved
weird
all the
because we
elders in my
never.
family, and I love sitting down talking with them. To me, I was like, yo, if I,
Yeah.
you mean, I need to connect with my family. I need to learn more Spanish, especially if I'm gonna be going to Dominican Republic like that.
Nah, like for us it was different because we spoke it. You know what I mean? Like, we never had that disconnect with our grandparents or cousins or tios or tias. Like, we spoke Spanish like right off the bat, but they can tell even because of the way the accent comes off
Yeah.
or the words, we don't know how to say certain words or
Yeah.
like
That
ask
was
for
my
certain
problem.
things.
Like I'll carry deep intellectual conversations with you in Spanish, but there comes a point where like people like not they'll carry the deep conversation because they know what I'm trying to say. But the thing is,
Yeah,
I say it the long way, or I say it kind of the way that's like funny.
yeah, they don't understand. But
And they just let me ride with it.
they talk
Bro, I
shit,
talk so
right?
much, they're just like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it's just that was it. But then even when I lived in DR, I kind of like migrated my Puerto Rican side to Dominican Republic. So what ended up happening was I used to throw parties in DR
Mm.
with reggaeton
Woo, little
CDs.
DJ and me and my cousins used to do that. That's the thing to do back then
Yeah,
when you
man,
were in high
it
school.
was crazy. Like
What do they call it?
I was
Pasadilla? Like
yeah, pasadilla or like we used to call them rapa parties.
rapa parties. Yo, your parties sound crazy, man. I feel like I missed
Yo,
out.
because
Bro, were we in DR at the same time?
In DR, you lose. When I lived in DR a long time ago, you will lose electricity. You know, you're listening
Yo,
to the music. Huh?
yo, let's talk about that too, man. That's crazy too, cause I'm half. Sometimes, like when I talk to other Dominicans, this happens a lot when I'm in New York. They kind of treat me like
Yep.
you ain't really Dominican, bro. You're half. And
Yeah.
then because there's like this whole different Dominican culture in the Bronx. There's a whole Dominican culture of like I'm not smashing on it stuff. I think it's cool because a lot of it is giving like Dominicans an urban flavor and a lot of stuff like bachata, their urban flavor and a lot of things and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
uh and these aren't all Dominicans from New York, but a lot of Dominicans from New York when I was growing up would make me feel like I wasn't as Dominican as they were. But the thing
Oh
was,
yeah.
I lived in Dominican Republic for
And
3
they
straight
didn't.
years, and in those and I visit quite often. I was very connected with my family down there, and the
Yeah.
music and the history. You mean Dominican history? So
Mm-hmm.
whenever whenever they would try to test me on that, they would say things like oh man, like cuando se va la luz and stuff like that. And then in my head, I'm thinking like, yo, those days are over. Like in Dominican
Mm-hmm.
Republic, like
Nah,
unless you're in
bro.
Sin Fuego or you're in the campo, you get power all
Yeah.
day. But back then,
Yeah.
yo, that
Yeah.
se va la luz every
Se va
time.
la
Like the
luz. Se va la
semaphoros never
luz.
work, bro. Like
Yeah, it was
if you
crazy.
was
I haven't been back for, Jesus, I think 15, 16
oh
years.
bro, the
I haven't
place
been back.
in the short time that I have gotten there from '98, the first time I went, up until the last time I went was maybe I want to say 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, it has changed a lot. Like
That's what I hear.
yeah, and this is a lot with a lot of Latino America. Like a lot of Latino
Mm-hmm.
America is just like in Peru. You know, Peru's always pretty been advanced in their architecture and infrastructure, and they've taken leaps and bounds. Dominican Republic, bro, they got like people are gonna laugh, but like yo, having a TGI Fridays, bro, their
That was
Pizza
wild.
Hut. I will dine in their Pizza Hut over any Olive Garden here in the States. Like their Pizza Hut
Wow.
is like fancy. Like you go to the freaking it's in like downtown Santiago. It's like outside. They
Yeah.
got mojitos. It's like very
It's lit.
like yeah, dude. It's lit. It's really lit. Like you mean, and they don't like they don't hold back on the alcohol either. Like they do in the States,
Nah.
but like it's crazy, man. The place is very it's changing a lot, very fast. You mean I remember when Dominican Republic was just like, yo, this place is a dump. You mean
Yeah.
because there's
It was
trash
tough back
everywhere.
then. Yeah, it
You
was
mean
tough.
people doing crazy bootleg stuff, like you
Yeah.
mean climbing up to the pole and tapping into electricity, and then he'd get electrocuted and he'd be dead up there, and then you have to wait a day or two for somebody to come and get him down because nobody else wanted to get him down. Like
Yeah.
crazy stuff like that, man. People like fighting with machetes and stuff like we call it colines down there.
Hell yeah, Colin.
Dude,
Yeah, the Colin.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that still goes on, but like, bro, it's like in the most like ignorant parts of town where people are fighting with colines and doing like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
Dominican Republic is so different now.
Yeah, I want to visit because last time I went, no, we would lose electricity. We didn't have paved roads where I lived. It was all dirt roads. The water, if you wanted water, some people had to go to a well and get water.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and
Everywhere heading
that's
this sort of too is like you needed a generator and stuff if you wanted
yeah,
nonstop power. The water was
yeah.
always cold, like
Hmm.
always.
Always cold. You basically put the tinaco. What's what we call
Yeah,
it, the
then knock yeah,
tinaco.
heat it up.
Yeah, and heat it up with the sunlight would heat it up the fucking tinaco, and that was your hot water. So whoever took the shower the first got all the warm water.
Bro, we're laughing, but it's like other Hispanics have dealt with this too when they go back to whatever country like they came from and they visit their family that's in the campo. You mean
Yeah,
like I'm pretty sure like you mean whether you're Guatemalteco, you mean if you mean Mexican, Chileno, Argentino, like
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you have like some story. You've seen these countries develop over time as well. So like
yeah,
for all the Dominicans that haven't been there and Peruvians that haven't been back home in a while, you should try to take a trip back and see how much
yeah.
different your country's gotten.
I
I
gotta
mean,
do it because
unless you're
everybody told me.
Venezuelan, shout out to my Venezolanos and Venezolanas that are out there. Like, I feel for y'all. Like, it sucks because
Yeah,
they were one of the most advanced, Latin culture down in South America. So, like, obviously, I don't want to leave y'all out. I know, like, we're praying for y'all, but yeah, like, if you haven't been to the country that your parents are from or your grandparents are from in a while, go back and take a trip and see things
hmm
because like a lot of people that's a problem that they leave a country or they will stop visiting a country that where they had family and they would
hmm
have that perception in their mind that it's still the same way there and it's not.
Wow.
Things advance over there just like they do over here depending
Yeah,
on the situation of the country, but most of Latino America has advanced a
it's
lot.
advanced. Yeah,
And I say that because uh like a centro de internet, like they had internet centers back there.
I know. I
And that
remember
used to be,
those
and
things,
se
bro.
quemó de una vez, like, because everybody started getting personal computers. Everybody had
Yep.
internet at their house. Like, the business boomed so
hmm
fast, technology, that it revived a lot of, like, Latino America towards, like, yo, a center of
hmm
internet. Yo tengo flash in la casa, bro.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah,
getting,
man.
even in, like, the place where grandfathers or where my grandfather's living now, that used to be considered campo. It's no longer campo. Like the city's grown
It's a
so fast.
town or it's a city.
It's a
Yeah,
town now, man. We're surrounded
yeah.
by a fabril and a bunch of apartment complexes now, and the major Highway 1, which is a two-sided road that looks actually better than a lot of the roads here in the United States.
hmm
So it's things change.
It's advancing.
Yeah.
It's advancing. But that's cool, man. Like, what's cool about that is that no matter how much time has passed, man, we still have this connection to the motherland. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that, to be honest, bro, like, I'm glad that we actually, with what we do, I'm glad that we're basically keeping our culture alive with what we do with the music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that means a lot because people may see us like silly, but we are literally writing history with the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Everything that we work on is, bro, is part of our culture. Like, we're writing towards our culture, and I think that's the biggest thing that we can do in our space, as artists and people that are involved in the music stuff. Like, we are literally writing more lines in the history of our culture with everything that we do.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me at least, that's one way that I can, like, all right, I'm actually contributing to
Bro, if you
who
think
we are.
about it, like when people think of bachata, or say whatever music you're doing, reggaeton or something,
Hmm
they're gonna go back to that era and see what was popping during that time.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? And with like not many people doing it, you'll stand out. Maybe not
Absolutely.
reggaeton. Reggaeton's the new pop.
Yeah.
That's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But things like bachata music, if you have some type of like bolero, like where you're from, I know,
hmm
you mean traditional folk music where you're from. It's like you mean keep doing it. Keep
Yeah.
putting out whatever has been passed down to you, and now you more than ever have an opportunity to etch it in history, like Manny said, because we have the internet now, and you post that up there, and it's almost like they're forever. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Uh, and even that, like, we have actors, we have directors. Like, I have my buddy Ricky Rosario. I met him through the Nova. We became friends through the Nova. But this man's a director. You know what I mean? Like, and he's Dominican. And those are type of things that when we do something like that, we impact our culture. We have a voice now. Like, it's different because you can literally do whatever you want and it's out there. Everybody can say, hey, this piece of work came from this person, and that person is Dominican, or they're Puerto Rican, or
Yeah.
they're from Chile or whatever. That's our part. And I think that's the easiest way to keep it alive, man. Like, I'm so happy and excited and proud, like, for everything that's happening right now. Like, I'm hyped for everything that's happening right now.
Same.
You know what I mean? Like I see entrepreneurs that are Latino and they're building businesses and they're creating shit and they're bro, I think this is the best one of the best times ever to be alive, man. Like this
Oh,
shit is
hands down,
wild.
hands down.
Like
I
even what
have
we're doing right now.
dude. Like the fact that you can get listeners from Russia listening to bachata
Yep.
music, bro. Russia, they
Yep.
like bachata music there. You
Yeah.
mean Chile? They love bachata
Hmm.
music. All of Latin America is in love with bachata music right now.
Hmm.
Europe, I mean
Yep.
Germany. Like that's crazy, man. Like some bachatero from back in the day would never think his. You mean, like I mean, maybe from
The
the
impact.
the European tourists, they would have to take music over there.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of Europeans were hearing about bachata. But other than that, it was like the word of mouth was literally straight from the mouth. It
Hmm.
wasn't. You mean
Yep.
like, hey,
And,
this person created this piece of work. Here he is,
Mhm.
and that person, all they have to do is tap their phone, and they're in your world. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Well, think about it. Like I think we have more of a responsibility now than we ever had. You know what I mean? Like I maybe back in let me see, back in January, I met up with my mentor Terry Marty in London, and one thing that he told me that like has stuck with me, man, like since that conversation has been the in order to maintain your history and in order to maintain your culture, um, you have to document it. You have to write your own story,
So true.
basically. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason we have never really known what the real history or like have that much content because we never wrote it down. We never documented anything. And, like, and now that we have the opportunity to, bro,
Everybody
create a
can document.
podcast. Yeah, to create a podcast to write a piece of something or film something or build something like that's wild.
Bro, if people wanted to know what Latinos were like in 2019, they have a crazy amount videos, vines,
Yeah,
music,
yeah,
you mean movies, like you name it, dude,
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
Just
Everything.
they can go to Team Dominican and look at their feed from back in the day and see like, oh, this is what Dominicans were
Yeah,
doing back then. Like,
yeah,
bro, like
yeah,
imagine us trying to people dig like they dig feet underground. You mean they dig deep trying to figure out like we want to know what this civilizations was like. You mean in Latin
yeah,
America they're digging tombs out and stuff like that and
yep,
dissecting things and trying to figure out, and you got like a whole you mean a group of scientists that are dedicated to understanding what the civilization was. You mean, and they just itch for any piece of information they can get from that
yep,
time, that
yep.
era. Because God forbid they dig into certain areas, like, oh well, it's not from this era, but it is from this era. You mean, it's like
Hmm.
it's crazy. You mean people to try to figure out how those people were back then. It's like right now we can put a stamp on it and be like, hey man,
We're
this
writing
was
it.
us in 2019. This was
That's
us.
it. I love that we're doing this because of that. Because
You know,
we
and
we
it
get to
gives a
do
more
it.
accurate depiction of a culture in history. Because I
Hmm.
always think it's interesting when somebody gives you watch the History Channel. The History Channel always used to do these things where they always do something controversial to like a group of people. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
well, actually, the Egyptians weren't as powerful as they were. They were actually, you mean, like, well, I never thought about it like that. You mean, or they'll do
yeah,
something like, well, actually, you mean, Alexander the Great wasn't from this area technically, and you're just like,
yeah.
oh, whoa, does that change things? And it's like, but
Yep.
now it's like when people look back at our history, it's like, nah, bro. There's
This is
video
what's
footage,
happening.
there's tweets, there's music, we know what they were like. We
Yeah,
know what they were thinking.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me. Like the final thought is like we have the power, man, to keep writing culture and keep our culture alive through what we do.
Yo.
And it's I think it's beautiful that we are being influenced by other cultures and still
Yes.
keeping ours alive in a sense.
Yes.
Like I feel, bro, I'm happy. I'm so excited that I live here in the
Same.
U.S.
Same.
because like the opportunities and the people that I've met and the things that I've learned, it's helping me and helping you connect and also be able to bring a message to other people. Like that's crazy for me. I love
Yeah.
that.
If you're listening, you can make your mark in history as well. Whether it's like writing
Absolutely,
something
man.
down, putting it out there, music, uh,
Hmm.
video, editing, like anything. Everybody has a way now. it's more easier than ever to document your part in history and contribute.
Absolutely.
To la cultura.
La cultura.
Anytime I say la cultura, I want to say profética at the end. I love that band.
No, man.
I just say la cultura.
Profética. I think that's what it's called. I don't even forget though. But that's all I have for this. Like, I feel I'm hyped, man. I'm cool.
Awesome.
I feel good.
Well, for all our listeners, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. Keep La Cultura growing and going forward. Pass it down to your kids, your kiddos, your grandkids, and contribute while you're alive.
Yep. And send us emails, send us messages on Instagram.
Yeah. Throw some
Twitter,
comment feedback, please. We love feedback, man. Like, if you got your spin on what you think about the culture and this and that, so just comment. Say something back to us. Like, we definitely like to engage. We want to engage with you guys. We don't want to just like sit here and there's a lot we can learn too from our listeners.
Absolutely.
And you found our podcast because something in what we're talking about piqued an interest in you, something that you would like to know more about, or something that you've been exposed to, and we like to hear from everybody. Yep. So
you can find us literally everywhere at La Cultura Podcast. We are everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Damn, and our email away.
Got us out there. All right. On that note.
All right, my man.
Peace and love. God bless y'all.